Note to self, always secure your battery. I did not do a good job on this launch. Immediately the plane rolls right and then barely clears the treetops. Ardupilot and the Matek flight controller were working overtime to keep this thing in the air. At this point, I can hear the engine throttling up and down. I put on the goggles to see that the plane is pitching up and down violently. At this point, I decide to start flipping through the modes to see if I can make any type of recovery. As switching through the modes, the plane's already almost inverted. When I switched to manual, I ended up performing a loop. That's the first loop I've ever performed. That was not planned. Here I've switched the plane and returned to launch mode, hoping that it can recover and come back to the point of origin. Unfortunately, it's pitching violently still. At this point, I still don't know what is happening or why it's happening. All I know is that no matter which mode I throw the plane into, it's just pitching up and down endlessly. At this point, I'm just trying to find modes and find some stability. I switched into manual. Mind you, I am not a good manual pilot at this point yet. I do find that cruise, it seems a little bit stable for a moment. It seems I could switch to a mode, and for a moment or so it'd be fine, then all of a sudden it'd start the violent pitching up and down. Again, I have no idea what's happening. I'm just trying to keep the thing in the air long enough to figure out what I can do to get this down without destroying it into 100 pieces. My thoughts at this point in the flight are just pile drive this thing down into this big open field right below me. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to hit any houses or be over a main road, and I wasn't quite sure how long I could keep this thing up in the air with all the violent pitching. At this point, I'm trying to get it downwind and line up for final approach and landing, hoping I can put this thing on the ground in one piece, but ready to ditch it into the ground hard if I have to. It's at this point I realize if I pull back on the elevator and decrease the throttle, I can combat the pitching to some degree, and I start timing the motions of the throttle and the elevator against the pitch that the autopilot's adding to try and level the flight as much as possible. I cannot believe I got that down in one piece.